Hi guys, welcome back to another video in this channel. My name is Abraham Little and today I'm really happy to be here with you with another 3D video. But before we jump into the 3D video, I was allowed to share with you some amazing news. One of our courses, which is the one that I'm working on, will be releasing very soon. Might take a couple of weeks still, but we're really close to release, and the new course is ZBrush 2022. So absolute guide to ZBrush 2022. It's a very, I would say, complete package about ZBrush. We're going to be going over a lot of the tools. It's for beginner level students, but some of the exercises that we're going to be doing are quite advanced. So you're going to be able to get some very nice portfolio pieces out of it as well. So yeah, I'll share more details about that with you guys as soon as I have them. And of course, stay tuned here in the channel to learn more from our newest courses. We also took a lot of your guys' suggestions. I have my list of all of the courses that you guys might want to see, and we're deciding which one is going to be the next one. So if there's one specific course that you're really looking forward to, make sure to leave in the comments here what that might be so that we can take that into consideration. So today, as the title for this video suggests, we are going to be demystifying UVs. We're going to be clearing this very spectral like cloud that UVs tend to have, and we're going to make it a little bit easier, okay, for everyone involved. So first of all, what are UVs? UV maps are one of the oldest techniques inside of the 3D world. It's been used for decades, and it's very reliable. And the way this works is very simple. We create something called a UV map, which is a 2D representation of a 3D object. So a map, like a normal map, like the world map that we normally see, that is technically a UV map because we could map this thing into a sphere and we would get the whole thing on top of it. Now, there's a couple of things that happen with UVs. UVs will have distortion and UVs will have cuts. Those are two things that we cannot avoid when working with UVs. The only way to avoid distortion and to avoid, seams is to do something else like texels or pexels or PTEX is the technique, which is another technique, or polypaint, where you paint directly on top of the polygon. But there's other things that come with that. We can talk about those things later on. So the easiest way to understand this is, again, just think about like an Easter bunny. Like, everyone uses this example because it's really easy, right? So all of these Easter bunnies that are covered with this like foil, they of course design the like branding and stuff on a flat piece of like a monitor on a Photoshop or something, and then they know that when they fold it on top of the chocolate, it will land exactly where they need it to land. And that's what we do with UV mapping. Now, the good thing is, if you're just starting 3D this year, then UVs are going to be super easy for you, especially if you're using Maya. We'll talk about UVs inside of Blender in another time as well. But inside of Maya, the techniques that I normally use are super simple, and they're going to be super easy. So let's start with a very basic model. Let me see what I have here so that I can show you. What do we have here? Actually, I mean, whenever you create a normal like piece of geometry, like a sphere or like a cube or anything, they usually already come with UVs, okay? So right here, like this one right here, already has its UV. And one very easy way to know how the UV is going to be looking is by using this checker pattern right here. And you can see how it unfolds and folds all throughout the surface. Now, the little white lines that you're seeing, those are the cuts. So even though it seems like the black square here is like continuing to the next one, they're actually two separate black squares, because you can see that all of this side is not the same as this side over here. That's important, especially if you want to do like something that's going to have some sort of connection or everything. The problem comes whenever you start editing your objects. So for instance, let's say we want to do like a can of soda, okay? So I would start with like a very basic cylinder. I would probably move it a little bit forward, and then I'll probably grab like this two guys, bevel them, make it like a small fraction, and then sodas usually have those edges extruded out. So let's extrude them out. Oop. There we go. So Control E to extrude them out a little bit. Maybe that's not like a can of soda. Maybe it's like a soup can or something, or like a tuna can. I'm actually gonna do a tuna can. I'll show you why. Do you guys like tuna? I really like tuna. I usually prepare with a little bit of mayonnaise and vegetables. Very cool. So there we go. Now let's make this like flat, like a tuna can. There we go. Oh, we can do that because we're gonna flat everything. So I'm just gonna grab these vertices right here and bring them down. There we go. So imagine we're doing like a tuna can for like a commercial or something. I'm actually gonna grab this vertex right here, Control F11, which is the shortcut to select all of the faces. Control E, let's do another small offset there, and then Control E, and bring it a little bit in like this. There we go. So if we press number 3, we get this, which looks pretty much like a tuna can, like how we would expect a tuna can to look. I think I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So Control F11, Control E to extrude. a little bit of offset, another extrusion, and let's go in. There we go. Perfect. So this is our model, and let's even smooth it out. Let's go mesh and smooth this out so it looks very, very nice, even though it has quite a bit of geometry. This is a perfectly fine model that we can UV map to create like the sticker on top of the thing. Actually, let's create the sticker. So I'm gonna grab all of these faces right here, and I'm gonna say edit mesh, and we're gonna duplicate it and push them forward just a little bit. You said they're sitting a little bit on top of it. There we go. So now this is going to be the sticker, and this is going to be the can. So you're going to see both of them slightly overlapping, right? Like that. Let's center the pivot point there, and let's make this just slightly more like... There we go. So I'm going to assign a new color just so that we can see the difference. Let's assign a new Lambert color in this guy, and let's say this is a blue color. There we go. So that's how my tuna can is going to look, right? But I want to texture it and add like a nice little branding on the whole thing and everything. How would I go about doing the UVs? Because if I take a look at this guy, at the UVs, you're going to see that these UVs actually do not match what I want or what I need. If I take a look at how ugly those UVs look, right? So there's a process that I normally use. We talk about this a little bit more in depth in the Intro to Maya course, which is of course available as the premium courses. But I'm gonna go over it because we've been doing it quite a bit on this channel as well. So the process is as follows: we're gonna grab both objects, and the first thing I want to do is I want to erase any UVs that they might have, because every single time I do a transformation or extrusion, a bevel, whatever, it changes the topology, and therefore the original UV that we had no longer works. It doesn't really work. So let's start with the can right here. So I'm going to select the can, I'm going to say UV, and I'm going to do a delete UVs. So now this can has no UVs. Now, we can use a couple of UVs. Some of you guys might be like, well, why not just use an automatic UV mapping and get this? Well, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not perfect either. You can see that we're gonna have more cuts. The squares are not always like completely flat or completely like nice like they should. So not ideal for this particular object. That's why knowing how to do UVs is super important, because even though automatic mapping or automatic tools, even Substance Painter has some automatic tools, you could get away with it. But if you know how to do it properly, it's better to do it properly. You're gonna have way better results, and your models are gonna look amazing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say UV planar mapping, and I'm gonna do something called a camera-based projection. So wherever my camera is, it's kind of like taking a snapshot of the object and creating the UV. So I'm gonna say keep image width height ratio as well. That one's optional, you don't really need it, but I like it because it looks a little bit nicer. And there you go. So now as you can see, my object, I just have this object right here, and it's looking good, right? Like the UVs over here at this distance and at this camera angle looks fine. But if I move them, oh, horrible. So the problem is, of course, this is not gonna work. But we're just using this as a base. So that's the second step. First step, we delete the UVs. Second step, we create a planar mapping just to get something to work with, okay? Now it's time for us to cut the UV edges. Like, we need to decide where are we gonna have the cuts. And usually you want to think about how things are made in the real world. That's usually the best way to find out where to place your cuts. So if this is an aluminum can for like tuna, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say UV 3D cut and sew UV tool, and I'm gonna cut right here, so that we have like one cap, the other cap, and then on the back side here across. Okay, there will be seams. Again, this is one of the things that we cannot avoid. We can't avoid having seams when we're working with UVs, because that's just the essence of the whole thing. But as you can see, we're gonna have a very nice flat round cap on the top, very nice flat round cap on the bottom, and then this thing should be unfolding like a strip, and we're gonna have like a very nice vertical line. So let's go here. We're gonna right click, select UV shell, grab all of this UV shell. Let's turn this off so that we don't see it just yet. And I'm gonna go unfold, unfold. And by default, look at this, beautiful. One round cap, another round cap, and this very nice long line. The only problem is we're breaking a couple of rules. UVs should never be one on top of each other. UVs should all fit inside of the 0 to 1 square, usually. There's a couple of exceptions, of course. And UVs should have like a proper size. So I'm gonna go here to modify. I'm gonna say layout. The shortcut is Control L, but I changed this thing right here, which is called shell pre-rotation. I'm gonna change this to horizontal, and I'm gonna hit apply. So what this will do is it will try to, Control L, it will try to fit all of them at the same proportionate size. This is very important. They all are proportionate to each other, and it will try to make it sure that it's inside of the 0 to 1 place. So now if I turn this, look at this. Great, right? Like, not bad. So let's do a quick comparison here. Let's duplicate this can, and then on this one, I'm going to say UV, and I'm going to do an automatic mapping. Now let's take a look at both of them, and you're going to be the judges. Like, which one looks nicer? Okay, this one that has like a very nice cap, very nice size, very nice cap over here, or this one who has like different size of squares, different resolution, like this is very dense and this is very small. So you can see, right, like you can see why doing UVs properly is super important. So this is the technique that I use, and most of the times whenever I'm working with a cylindrical shape, I'm gonna be doing this sort of technique where I do a cut on the cap, a cut on the other cap, and then a cut across. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, if you remember, we did have this one right here, this little strip. So let's do the same thing. Let's follow along. So I'm going to go UV. I'm going to say delete UVs. And I'm going to say UV, planar mapping. Oh, again, let's select the object. There we go. Planar mapping. And then I'm going to go UV, 3D cut, and so UV tool. As you can see, the caps are already cut because they're empty. They're holes. And now it's just a matter of grabbing like this one right here on the back. And that's going to be my new cap. Grab this whole thing here, UV editor, and we can grab this one and say Control U to unfold. And again, we have this very nice strip. Now, here's the very cool thing about this. You can grab multiple objects, in this case, and Control L both of them, and they will both fit in the exact same element. So we're sharing the space, because as you can see, there's a lot of empty space here that we should be using, we should be utilizing, because otherwise, well, things are gonna look ugly, right? So what about if I were to grab like this can, and maybe we want to have like 2 or 3 variations of the same can? Well, let's just copy this guy 3 times. Right now they're sharing the UV, so if I were to texture any of these ones, they will all be the same. But if I want them to be slightly different, which is something that we normally do, for instance, in games, when you want to have a little bit of variation, I can grab all of them and just press Control L. Oh, Control L. There we go. So now, yes, the space changed. You can see that the resolution is a little bit lower because we need to fit all of these islands inside the new texture, but they all fit here. And it's going to be very easy to go into Photoshop or Substance Painter and paint something here that looks like a branding. Like here in Mexico, we have this one called Atún Dolores. Very tasty. Dolores, this one. I really like this one. So if you're doing any sort of tuna from your country, then you're going to have the specific name and branding over here. And then all of these elements over here are going to be the metal bits, okay? Let me know in the comments if you want me to texture this little tuna cans, and we can do it in one of the next days. But yeah, that's the general thing about like UVs. Now, I'm going to commit a sacrilege here. This is probably gonna insult a lot of people. Just kidding. Of course, I would never insult you guys, but it's gonna be funny because I actually went into Blender and I got the monkey, which is a famous Blender element, and I'm gonna show you how I would get the UVs out of the monkey, because the monkey, it's a little bit more like a weird geometry. It seems like Maya just died, so give me just 1 second. Oh, there we go. So here, desktop, basic shapes, and we have the monkey. There we go. So the monkey, it's a very famous Blender mascot. It's kind of like their thing. So whenever they're doing examples and stuff, they usually use the monkey. It's a very low poly thing. So I'm gonna go here in mesh and I'm gonna smooth it. Let's do just one smooth level. There we go. And now this is a very complex shape, but it follows the exact same rules as what we did with the tuna cans. That's why I wanted to start with a simple example, because it's easier for me to explain how all of this works with something simple and then go onto something more complicated. So I'm gonna grab this guy right here, and the first thing I'm noticing is that everything it's actually divided into a couple parts. So you can see that the eyes right here, there are 2 different islands, and they're already cut. So those are gonna be super easy to UV because they're just flat. Like, we actually don't have to do anything with those ones. And then the rest of the monkey is a complete element. Okay, so we follow the exact same process. We do UV, delete UVs so that we don't have any UVs, and then UV. We do a planar mapping to have a starting point. You can see that the eyes there already got their seams on the back because they're just empty, they're hollow. And now let's start thinking about what would be the best way to cut this? Well, usually when you're talking about a character, you want to split it in such a way that it makes sense. And again, you want to try to keep the seams hidden. So I'm going to go here to 3D cut and sew UV tool. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split the ear. So I'm going to go through this edge loop right here. There we go. And then here, oh, not over there, just these 2 lines. And then we're gonna cut, or actually, I think we can cut across here. And then through here. You can also go into just like edge mode and then select the edges that you wanna do. Sometimes I find this a little bit easier to manage. There we go. And then you just go UV and then cut UV edges. I like the 3D cut and sew UV tool because you can see which ones have been cut. As you can see right there, which is perfectly fine. But if you don't want to do it, that's another option. Now, for the ear, I think in this case we're gonna have like the front of the ear and the back of the ear. So I'm gonna use this line right here to cut like the front of the ear and the back of the ear. And again, that's a seam that we are gonna see, but we can hide it relatively easy. Now, over here, the nose, it's a really complex shape, so it might be a good idea to split it from the rest of the face. So let's split it. Same for the inside of the mouth. So I'm gonna grab like this little guy right here, and the inside of the mouth is gonna be outside of the chain. Now, and usually we would have a neck, and the neck is like a cylinder, so it's a really good place to cut something. But in this case, since we don't have the neck, we're gonna have to improvise a little bit. So I'm gonna try and cut the face like a luchador mask. So I'm gonna go from this place right here, and I'm gonna go 2 lines in, and then, okay, here I'm gonna do it manually. So I'm just gonna select this guy's over here, and then 2 lines in, and then 2 more lines in. There we go. And now see how this one goes all the way down? I think that's a good point to do the cut, because this is hidden beneath or behind the like the snout. Okay, so we're gonna do that, and then same deal. We're gonna follow kind of like the same path. So 2 lines, 2 lines, and then 2 lines, and these are gonna be the 2 lines. Now, of course, we need to repeat the ear cut, which is all around here. So here, oh, and then just follow this nicely over here. There we go. We, of course, go across the ear, something like that. Perfect. And we just say UV and cut UV edges. And again, we can go back to our UV, 3D cut and sew UV tool, and we should be seeing all of this guys right here. Now, if you open your UV editor while doing this, and you turn on, you turn off this guy right here, and then go UV, 3D cut, and sew UV tool, sometimes you'll get the colors. I think it's with this one. There we go. So if you see different colors, those are different islands. It's this little option right here. It's the second option. So that tells me that in this case, the front part of the face and the back part of the face are still the same island. Each, like half of the ears are a different island. That's fine. The mouth, the nose, the eyes are different islands, but now we need to cut one or do one more cut. So I'm probably gonna cut like back here, like this guy right here, and now this should separate. There seems to be like some sort of like weird problem over there. I'm not sure if I'm not sure there's like an issue with the geometry or something. Doesn't seem to be. Maybe I forgot to cut like a little space or something, because we're not getting different colors, which is usually an indication that islands are not separate. And then a final line that's very common in characters is to do like a seam here on the top, on the hairline, roughly all the way up till about there, so that the face unfolds a little bit nicer. So UV and cut UV edges. Now let's do the test. I'm gonna go here and hit Control U. And there we go. This is what I'm expecting to get. So as you can see, this kind of looks like a Mexican luchador mask, which is a very nice unfold. And then we have like both sides of the ears, we have the eyes, we have the bottom part of the face, and everything else. I'm gonna grab everything and hit Control L. And as you can see, this gets laid out in the best possible way. And if we check the resolution, this resolution is working relatively fine. So this is something that could work. Again, there will be distortion. Distortion can be like tweaked and cleaned up a little bit in the texture phase, but that's the reason why we usually put it like up here, because otherwise it will be very, very difficult to hide. And again, why not use automatic mapping? Because if we go here and we say automatic mapping, look at the amount of islands, look at the amount of cuts, look at the amount of like directions that all of our squares are facing. This is not the proper way to do it, okay? You should never do automatic mapping, unless it's just like a square or like a cube, that's fine. But if it's a little bit more complex than that, like this guy right here, then you should probably do it like manually with proper UV techniques. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I actually don't remember. Let me change this. Suzanne is the name of the monkey. Let's call this Suzanne UV ready. Say file, import. Let's import him again, because I don't remember if this guy already has UVs. I think it does. Let's take a look. Yeah, so as you can see, very similar. In this case, they decided, instead of doing as many cuts as I did over here, they decided to keep just one cut, and then the eyes and the ears as a single loop, which is perfectly fine. Like, this is a perfectly valid. You can see the luchador line as you can as it's right there. I think it's a little bit stretched. Like, we will have a little bit of like intense distortion on this side. I personally like having a couple of more cuts and save myself a little bit of extra elements. But UVs are one of those things that unless there's an issue in the production pipeline, it really doesn't matter. Like a director only wants you to do like proper UVs that are maximizing the space that you're using and being as nice as possible. Every single artist will UV things slightly different. They will pick different loops, they will pick different areas, and things will vary a little bit, and that's fine as long as the textures look great. You're perfectly fine. Don't sweat too much about it, because I've had some students that really stress about having like the perfect UVs. At the end, the result, the final shot, the render, that's what matters. So if your UV is slightly off, slightly different than the one from your like co-worker or whatever, it's fine as long as the result looks good. Okay, don't sweat about it. And yeah, that's it, guys. That's pretty much the basics of UVs. So again, let me know in the comments if you want me to continue with the little tuna cans. I can show you how to texture them and give them like a nice branding and stuff. Otherwise, tomorrow we'll probably continue with the medieval lighthouse, where we'll still have that project pending. We can keep moving with that one. Make sure to suggest new things, suggest new elements. Remember, next week we're gonna have our first mini project. It's gonna be like a 3-day project where I take you through something. We're probably gonna do some ZBrush because that's our upcoming series, and of course we haven't done some ZBrush in a long time. So yeah, thank you guys. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you back tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye bye.